So we brought this thing back that we told you it was limited, sold it like crazy, took a break, and now it's back and
talking about Curse City or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Lord of the Rings or something.
Curse City or
whatever.
40K hero models.
40K heroes. Yep.
All the terrain kits they've ever made.
Pretty much. Yep.
Hey guys, welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I'm Chris, this is Jay, and we do these videos a couple of times a week where we talk about industry stuff and really just pull whatever we can out of our behinds to get these videos for you guys. So
yeah.
And this is one of those videos.
No, virtually every video we make is just winging it.
Winging it. All garbage time, all the time.
All garbage time, all the time.
Whew.
Yeah.
So this is something I was talking to with another person who runs a shop, and we were just it was kind of just like a little discussion, a little trade talk, where we're just discussing how it is interesting, whether it's intentional or not. I think it's probably pretty intentional. One thing Games Workshop has learned over the years is things tend to sell better when they are while supplies last, or there's a bit more urgency to making the purchase, right? Well, buy it now, it's going to go away. And I think that's true probably across all industries. It's probably not just miniatures. Like when so many things are competing for your money, if something comes out and you're like, well, it's going to be around a long time, there's no urgency for me to get this, right? But if it's hard to get or only going to be made for a little while, limited edition, we love that word. Limited edition. Then there's this like much bigger urgency to make that purchase. Actually, Games Workshop probably started heavily with this, with like the limited edition tag word. Like we used to get that all the time with minis that were like put in battalion boxes. They were kind of hide those things to try to get you to buy like a much bigger set by, get your Empire Fire Wizard because he's in that army box and that's the only way you can get him.
Yeah.
And to their credit, back then they actually never released those models ever again.
No. And that's why those minis still command hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Yeah. And there's an element to that which is like it's ingenious, but also like there's a huge cost to it too. To manufacture a miniature for the sole purpose of like only selling it one time. Yeah. It is like it's kind of tricky, right? Like sometimes like if it doesn't sell great, you've made this model, you haven't really made that much money. Mm-hmm. And if you're just using it to drive this like bigger product, how many are you really going to sell? Yeah. And then it's kind of done, right? Yeah. So I kind of understand why they've kind of morphed almost into this new thing where they don't really say limited edition anymore. They use the while supplies last or whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of ingenious because like inevitably all these models kind of creep back in. I mean, like they've spent the money making plastic miniatures, the injection molding miniatures. They're not cheap to make. It's kind of bonkers to have like a character just disappear after a couple months and then to never see them again. Yeah. I think at least.
Yeah, so. And I think they squirrel some away for like when Games Workshops have anniversaries and birthdays and special days. All of a sudden, we got HQ sent us a box of stuff, and you can buy some more today, and So
it does kind of start to mimic this sort of like Disney Vault sort of like concept where like, I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, is for years, I'm not sure if they still do it, but for years Disney used to basically have their movies cycle through a release. So like buy them, you couldn't buy Toy Story for a period of time or whatever, and then all of a sudden you could buy it again. Mm-hmm. And I guess they had determined that like creating these like urgencies in their products, it helped them move things on a higher volume. Yeah. Make artificial scarcity almost. Mm-hmm. Like you kind of make things more rare. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of interesting to see Games Workshop kind of do that a bit more with certain things, right? Like you see it, I think, the most with terrain kits.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, those are also the kits they really don't want to make too many of up front.
Exactly. Yeah.
Games Workshop terrain is one of those things that I'm glad they make it, but man, it is the segment of their product that is like so well made and gets so little care. It gets like they're trying to jam it in so many ways, whether it's AOS faction terrain or it's in your Warcry box or your Necromunda box, or the idea is if you consume enough Games Workshop, you'll eventually be stuck with some of the terrain. And it comes down to the fact that they're not as exciting as the toy soldiers. So if you have, but it costs just as much. So if you have $400, you're going to buy a big army box. You're not going to buy a table of terrain. It's just the way it is. But for those that want it, they do bring it back and from the vaulted or do a made to order. I've seen that happen, and I'm always blown away actually when people pick it up. Like I don't expect it, and that probably is because of that. They're like, oh, it's back for a
remember,
time.
and you remember recently they did that with like the I think it was called Planet Strike.
Okay.
There was like an expansion for 40K.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 5th edition.
Right.
It was after Cities of
Raiders
Death.
things?
It was called Planet Strike. It was a really cool edition. It was all about like attacking planets and defending planets. And they had like the Bastion and the Aegis defense line and those like classic 40K like bunker kind of terrain. And recently within the last year they brought that stuff back, while supplies last sort of thing, or from the vault. What do they even call it? What do they call it? Print on demand.
The made to order.
Made to order. Yeah.
You have like a week to order it, and then they'll deliver it in
within 6 months or
6
something.
months,
Which is a kind of brilliant scheme.
They should do it with more stuff.
They really should do it with more stuff. And it works, right? Like people are like, I'm very. It particularly works with like people that have been in the hobby a while, because like you have to have missed out on something to feel like you want it the next time around.
Yeah.
So it particularly hits the like demographic that's like 10 years in, 15 years in. And we saw that like a customer came by and picked up like a whole table's worth of planetary defense stuff, which was really cool. And so clear, we've had people order the direct order stuff or made to order stuff before, and no matter what it is, like the old world's a good example of this too. They do like the made to order stuff that's basically from one of the. I guess you could claim that old world is literally from the vault.
The entire game.
The entire game.
All of it. Yeah.
They had a 10-year cool off period.
Yeah, it's like if Disney was like, screw Disney Plus, we're gonna make the VHS tapes available again or whatever. Like, people like it. Yeah, especially now because they need some of these things, like because they have entries in their books and they don't want to necessarily print them, or they want the authentic old models because they're in metal or whatever. So yeah, they're. I've done a bunch of those for people.
And it's literally where, like, we talked about this on the channel a lot, where, like, Warhammer is evolving into this, like, brand company.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to have this, like, amazingly strong IP that has a huge segment of people that feel like a legitimate nostalgia for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're reaching these levels, these periods now where I think they could do something as ridiculous as, like, put a remember that, what was it? Remember when this was the craziest thing. Remember when they sold you a Space Marine company or whatever?
Oh my god, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. So this is when Apocalypse got released.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So this is I don't know, 05 or 06 or something like that, and they were like and this is in like $2006. They're like, for $650 we'll give you a company which was like 100 Marines plus all the
rhinos, 2 Razorbacks, like. Command squad, 2 assault squads, 2 Terminator squads,
and they could probably verbatim it, like with the same box and everything, and they're all Trueborn Marines, and people would be like, I would need this or whatever. Like, they got to put like the old Ultramarine scheme when it was like yellow and blue or something on the cover or whatever.
They definitely could go heavier into nostalgia. They definitely could.
I mean, I'm still waiting for 40K, the old world. I know it's Horus Heresy, but it would probably be like, but I'm talking like 3rd ed or something.
40K
like
Classic?
40K Classic.
Man, yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
It's funny because, like, I'm sure someone in their boardroom is like, well, it's going to hurt our, like, sales of 40K. It's like, no, it's not.
Oh, that again.
The people buying that stuff are not buying the current. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. They're not.
It's one amazing thing that Old World's done, which is like it's basically tapped into a group of people that were not customers for a while, right? Yeah. And anyting you can
took their 3D printer and turned it off for once or whatever, and
they did. Well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Yeah. Some of them turned it up. So like, there's a volume button on that, right? You can just.
Yeah. I wish it worked that way. Yeah. Could you print more?
Where we're going, we don't need Games Workshop.
Yeah. Oh man.
But you could going even crazier with this theory is like you could argue that every single specialist game or boxed game that Games Workshop makes is from the vault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have this amazing ability because they have something that like only like Disney and Pokemon and these companies that have been around for like a really long time, they have the lifetime customer, right? And only companies that have these like lifetime customers can reach into a bag and say, remember this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember Battlefield, remember these things, like, and they have this like amazing magic hat that can pull things out of whenever they need to, essentially, or want to.
I mean, this definitely, in the last decade, as the releases ramped up to this insane level that we have now, where we have 5 to 10 things every weekend. I had a moment, excuse me, where I was like, "Are they going to run out of stuff?" And the answer is no.
You actually thought that for a second.
I did actually.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, what's going to happen when they?" No, I mean, there's still some categories where I think that, because I've noticed in some of the, like, if you think of like 40K craft world or whatever, the reason aspect warriors have been trickled out so slowly is, I think, because legitimately they're like, well,
let's not race to the end of this.
Yeah. Why would we go to the end right away? Yeah, we got 3 more editions, cycles worth of releases here.
Yeah.
So I do think they hold some back for that reason for some of the classic armies, but then they've also been installing new armies out of thin air to enable them to have these exciting releases that aren't just a character. So no, they've harnessed it from the vault pretty well. Actually, they could probably do more of it. To be honest, they don't do as much as I think, and I think they're still I think they still have a backlog, or whatever you want to call it, a choke on production. I think they could be releasing even more, believe it or not, which is wild. I don't know how the store would keep up, to be honest. It probably wouldn't. I probably have to.
Well, you, what do they say? You find a way.
You find a way. You find a way.
You find a way.
I don't even...
You have to find a way, yeah.
Who's even playing any of these other games?
Oh, yeah. I like, there are limits, of course, right? And I think that's to your point, like, they know they have to pace themselves to a degree, right? But to the opposite of that, you have such a huge player base now, that, like, I feel, because I was worried about that too. Like, I always used to say, like, this is years ago, I was like, man, when they release this, it just kind of like moves these people over here, and then when they release this, it moves them back over here, and it's like the same people are nibbling on this and then nibbling on this, and the more things you release, you're just creating this like burnout cycle because everyone's trying to keep up. That's kind of changed. Like, yeah, there's a few people still like that, trying to like fight the world and collect like all the things or whatever. But that's kind of like the exception now.
Yeah.
You see a lot more often. People are a lot more just like, oh, I just play 40K, or Kill Team's my game, or I'm an AOS player, or I really like Necromunda and I just collect Necromunda, and that's super healthy. But what it also shows is like the Games Workshop is so big now that they have all these like pockets of people. And they're not really going to be worried if they put out a new game that like it's going to take away from something else.
No.
No. Even if they have 15 games, it doesn't seem to matter anymore.
No.
There's a base.
They can, and
maybe not Underworlds. I don't know. We'll see. Emberguard. I hope, man. We're a complete segue. We're going to give it a real try because we like Underworlds a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Based on our commentary.
Yeah. No, we are ordering some copies.
Yeah.
Might even play a game.
I'm gonna play. Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if they've reached too many games. I mean, they could probably keep making games. Because, like you said, I don't think they cannibalize things anymore. I think it's just more games for more hobbyists, and you're just casting the super wide net. And even if they make a game, this seems to be proven because they re-upped Underworlds despite our believing that. Despite
us making videos, they still, we put our opinions out there, and I thought for sure they were like, we should.
Yeah, the guy was like, he had his hand on the button, and he's like, he watched our video and was like, I better.
I had 3,000 views. I don't know if we should do this, guys.
Yeah. Exactly. It's exactly what happened. I'm sure, like with some things, they probably don't care. They're probably like, if it only has a short cycle, or they release it and it sells okay, and then it kind of like fizzles, whatever. They probably just have like I have a feeling it's probably as like simple as like, we're gonna make we're projected, or in order to make this much profit, or whatever their goal is for the next year, they're like, we have to make X number of kits across our games or whatever. Maybe it's 400 or something, and then next year it's 425. So they just like either they have to invent a game or
it can't be less.
It can't be, no, obviously. So, and I'm sure. Well, obviously there's some. I said they're new kits,
right?
So they probably, they do cut. The store doesn't get bigger, so that's where the sacrosanct get. Just it's
always the sacrosanct chamber.
Looking forward to what the next group is going to get.
The targeted minority
the next group,
miniature group.
Their whole army gets sliced off or shot.
A lot of it's just quiet. A lot of it happens really quietly and people don't notice.
Yes, it's true.
The Dark Eldar,
you go on the website,
the Dark Eldar gets like shrunken down to a couple boxes.
I mean, even God bless him. Like I love Lumineth, but man, so much of it is web only.
Yeah,
okay.
It is what it is.
That's where I'm even like I love the army and there's like personal buys, so I'm like, oh really? Okay. Damn.
They got the sales graph, not you.
They have the graph.
But so there is an element of like making new games.
You know why they're doing it though, so they can from the vault them later.
Well, of course.
3 years from now.
Yeah.
Those Dawn Riders will be back.
They're back, guys. Yeah.
Yikes.
But there's an element of like I think they get this really well, I think. And I could even relate to this on like a store level where you have to like, there's a little bit of money you just have to spend as a company, I think, to keep people like interested. Whether or not it's like a really profitable like endeavor.
Yeah.
Like these like making new games and trying new things. I actually give Games Workshop a lot of credit because like a lot of bigger companies in other industries don't take any risks like that.
Oh, it's just easier to make another Zelda and another Mario Kart.
Exactly right. Yeah,
another Smash Bros.
And I think they understand that like with the miniature hobby, you have these like I said, a lot of lifetime hobbyists, people that are in it for a long period of time. Once in a while, you got to like shake things up a little bit and give people a reason to look back. I remember like I haven't been out of the hobby very long in my entire life, but there was like a couple year period when I was in uni that I kind of dropped out, and I remember like that was a fun thing to like every 6 months go back and just like, what's different, what's changed, and we get those customers that come in and it's like, oh, I've been at it for a couple years and come back in, what's new, what's changed, and like when like there's a whole new brand new game or a new faction or like this, like it definitely creates like that interesting like, oh wow, they're like things are really moving along here.
Yeah.
And like even on a store level, like we always thought was pretty important. We try hard, but it's getting harder these days to bring in some new, like whether it's a new range of paints or a new miniature game line, models, whatever. Just so that like it's interesting to come into the store every 6 months if you're not a regular customer but like a once in a while customer. Like we want to make that kind of an interesting, worthwhile sort of.
I always love the guy. They just roll, and so you're always somebody that I either haven't seen in forever or never seen, and they're like, "What's new?" And I'm always like, "What are you into?" And
I know. What a crazy question.
And they're always like, "Oh, I'm just checking it out." And I'm like, "Well, you're giving me nothing here, man."
So if it's been 2 years, there's about 1,000 new kits.
There's like 1,000 new kits. Yeah. Do you want me to start listing them or
There's 3 new paint ranges, all this, so
or then they'll be like, oh, I hate 40K, or you're like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Or you get a lot of the like, you really change things around in here a lot.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Like, well, that's for you, man.
That's got to. Sometimes I just move things from the right to the left and then back over again. That's right. You just Tetris it around. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think? Do you think this? Obviously, it's playing on the psychology of the consumer. Labeling things as well, stocks last, putting pressure on people to buy things, and then maybe a number of years later, bringing out like the thing again in like another format or another shell. You see it with like Underworlds, like they retired a whole bunch of war bands.
Yep.
And then now they're bringing them back out in faction packs.
Yep.
Right? And then they're going to make stuff available on the website again. But it's thinking no one was buying them near the end there when they say, so like there's a reason why they do this whilst like they clear things out. Yeah. And then when they know they have the data supports this, like when they bring it back again, all the people were like, well, it went away and I wanted it, I guess. This time I'm going to take it seriously and actually buy it. So there is a logic to it.
There is, yeah.
Whether or not we like it as consumers, I think there's a sound sort of business case for it, I think.
I mean, there's a reason Magic returns to Ravnica over and over again.
Return to return to return.
Yeah.
Or the Warhammer equivalent of that would be.
I don't know. We haven't returned the Bad Ab yet, but
well, we did return to the old world. So.
We did return to the old world. Yeah.
Does that mean we have to kill it again?
We have to kill it again,
and then so that we can go back to it.
I think so. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well. Jesus.
Oh, sorry. We just had garbage time.
Yeah, it's garbage. That was a garbage time comment. We're safe.
They're not going to kill it.
Mark's safe.
No. They'll just quietly let it starve or whatever. I don't know.
Starve it.
That is continuing. That is the next obviously big thing in that. I said that when the game came out, I was like, this is great. Mm-hmm. What happens 2 years from now or whatever?
Sure.
So what is second ed Old World going to be like, if at all? What are they going to do? So
that's when I think maybe a topic for another video, obviously, but that's going to be a much more interesting question because when something's new, it's exciting, people buy it. But what happens when people settle in and things become a bit more normal, right? Mm-hmm. You've played your 50th game with your dwarves. What happens then, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Yep.
That's probably
they'll just release.
That's a problem for someone who gets
another Dwarf Lord on Oathstone or something for you to add to your
maybe
plastic anvil, maybe
not.
And
though.
then you. I should put a poll up. If they make a plastic anvil and you already own an anvil, are you buying it? History says no.
History says maybe no. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Yeah.
That's the challenge.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Anyways, well.
No, yeah.
I was going to
wrap it up.
End it.
Wrap it up. Whatever was in my brain wasn't worth.
It was utter garbage coming.
It was so garbage that it's not even worth it.
Well, we hope you guys enjoy this video. Please comment and let us know what you guys think about this sort of is it a strategy? Is it something that just happens on its own? Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. What do you guys think? Have you fallen for this before? Have you actually made purchases based on limited edition while supplies last, or are you excited when the things come back and you've made those purchases? And if you like these kind of videos, we do them a couple times a week. We appreciate you subscribing, and if you really like it, you can help us out on Patreon for as little as $3, which goes a long way to supporting the channel and making us want to do more of these silly videos. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks guys. Take care.